On June 30, 2017, U.S. Marshals apprehended a 16-year-old fugitive in Elizabeth, New Jersey. At first, the arrest appeared to be the end of a 3-month manhunt for a teenager who had fled house arrest in Texas. Within hours, investigators discovered the suspect had released a music video that same day, one filmed while on the run, featuring footage of himself posing with his own wanted poster. At that point, it was clear this was no longer a routine fugitive case. You're watching Morbid True Crime's psychological true crime documentaries. Like, subscribe, and share for in-depth stories that uncover the mind behind the crime. The case centers on Taymor McIntyre, known by his stage name Tay-K, a 16-year-old from Arlington, Texas. Those who knew him described him as a high school dropout who had been recording rap music since age 14 as part of a local group called Daytona Boys. Born June 16, 2000, in Long Beach, California, McIntyre had moved frequently throughout his childhood. His mother relocated him and his sister to Las Vegas when he was 8 years old. After his father's release from prison, where he had spent much of McIntyre's early childhood, the family settled in Arlington, Texas. McIntyre attended Young Junior High School and Martin High School, but dropped out during his freshman year. By 2016, at age 16, he was living in Mansfield, Texas, and had become involved with individuals engaged in robbery and drug dealing. Nothing about these circumstances initially suggested the trajectory that would follow. According to court records and police reports, McIntyre was residing in Mansfield, Texas, in the summer of 2016. There were documented connections between McIntyre and a group of individuals who planned robberies targeting drug dealers and those believed to possess cash or narcotics. In July 2016, two women, Megan Holt and Ariana Barat, became acquainted with residents of a home on Mansfield Street. The residence was shared by multiple young men, including 21-year-old Ethan Walker and 17-year-old Zachary Beloit. According to investigative records, Holt and Barat coordinated with McIntyre and others to gain access to the residence under false pretenses. The plan involved the women establishing contact with Beloit, then allowing armed individuals to enter the home to steal drugs and money. In the days leading up to July 26, 2016, communication between the conspirators continued. Preparations for the robbery were documented through phone records and witness statements. On July 26, 2016, at approximately 9 p.m., Mansfield Police Department received multiple 911 calls reporting gunshots at a residence on Mansfield Street. Authorities find 2 victims with gunshot wounds inside the home. Ethan Walker, age 21, had sustained a gunshot wound to the abdomen. Zachary Beloit, age 17, had been shot but was conscious. Emergency medical services transported both victims to John Peter Smith Hospital. Walker was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. Witnesses reported that multiple armed individuals had entered the residence. The occupants described being confronted by gunmen who demanded money and drugs. Officers secured the scene and began documenting evidence, including shell casings and blood spatter patterns. Investigators interviewed surviving witnesses who provided descriptions of the suspects. Beloit stated that 2 women he had recently met had arrived at the residence earlier that evening. Shortly after their arrival, armed men forced entry into the home. According to witness accounts, Walker had raised his hands in compliance when he was shot. The gunmen fled the scene immediately following the shooting, taking stolen items with them. Within 48 hours, investigators identified 7 individuals connected to the home invasion. Among them was Taymor McIntyre, who was 16 years old at the time of the offense. Investigators determined that the robbery had been planned in advance, with specific roles assigned to each participant. Evidence recovered at the scene included multiple spent shell casings, indicating at least 2 firearms had been discharged inside the residence. The sequence of events unfolded over approximately 15 minutes. Holt and Barat gained entry to the home under the pretense of socializing with Beloit. Once inside, they unlocked the door to allow McIntyre and armed accomplices, including Letharian Merritt, to enter. According to court testimony, the gunmen immediately drew weapons and ordered the occupants to surrender valuables. Walker and Beloit were physically restrained. Despite complying with demands, Walker was shot in the stomach by one of the gunmen. Forensic evidence later confirmed that the fatal shot was fired by Letharian Merritt. However, prosecutors argued that all participants in the robbery bore legal responsibility for Walker's death under Texas felony murder law, which holds co-conspirators accountable for deaths occurring during the commission of a felony. McIntyre was arrested days after the incident. During a 2.5-hour police interrogation, he admitted his role in organizing the robbery. He confirmed that he had recruited the gunmen and coordinated with Holt and Barat to gain access to the residence. All 7 suspects were charged. Merritt, who fired the fatal shot, was later sentenced to life in prison. McIntyre was charged with capital murder and aggravated robbery. In January 2017, while awaiting trial for the murder of Ethan Walker, McIntyre was placed under house arrest with electronic monitoring. He was permitted to remain at his family's residence in Arlington under strict supervision. According to authorities, McIntyre wore a GPS ankle monitor that tracked his location continuously. The terms of his house arrest prohibited him from leaving the residence except for court appearances and approved appointments. On March 27, 2017, just days before his certification hearing, a proceeding that would determine whether he would be tried as an adult, McIntyre removed his ankle monitor and disappeared. At the time, nothing about this behavior prompted immediate alarm from monitoring authorities, who did not receive notification of the tampering until several hours had passed. Investigators immediately issued a warrant for McIntyre's arrest. The U.S. Marshals Service joined the manhunt, tracking reported sightings across multiple states. While fugitive, McIntyre's activities were documented through social media posts, surveillance footage, and witness accounts. He traveled from Texas to New Mexico, then to New Jersey, evading capture for 3 months. During this period, 2 additional violent crimes occurred in which McIntyre was identified as a suspect. On April 23, 2017, in San Antonio, Texas, 23-year-old photographer Mark Anthony Saldivar was shot and killed outside a Chick-fil-A restaurant. According to witness statements and surveillance footage, Saldivar had been lured into a black SUV by individuals who claimed to want to hire him for photography work. When Saldivar realized he was being robbed of his camera equipment, he attempted to escape the vehicle and called for help. According to police reports, the driver of the SUV accelerated in an attempt to strike Saldivar, who jumped onto the hood of the vehicle. The driver then exited the car and shot Saldivar once before fleeing the scene. Saldivar died from his injuries. Investigators later identified McIntyre as the shooter based on witness descriptions, surveillance video analysis, and digital evidence linking him to the location at the time of the murder. On May 25, 2017, in Arlington, Texas, 65-year-old Oni Skip Tay was found unconscious in Cravens Park with severe injuries. According to medical reports, Pepe had sustained multiple broken bones and a traumatic brain injury. He was discovered by a jogger and transported to a hospital in critical condition. Pepe later told investigators he had been approached by a young man who held a gun to his head, demanded his belongings, then struck him repeatedly, rendering him unconscious. Based on physical descriptions and subsequent evidence, McIntyre was identified as the suspect in this assault and robbery. Testing of digital evidence, including social media activity and phone location data, confirmed McIntyre's movements during the time periods when both crimes occurred. While fugitive in New Jersey, McIntyre recorded a rap song titled "The Race." The lyrics referenced fleeing from law enforcement and evading capture. He filmed a music video that showed him running through various locations, including footage where he posed in front of his own wanted poster. The song was released on June 30, 2017, the same day U.S. Marshals located and arrested McIntyre in Elizabeth, New Jersey. Within weeks, the music video accumulated millions of views on YouTube. In accompanying social media posts, McIntyre wrote statements including references to authorities being unable to hold him back. These posts were documented by investigators and later introduced as evidence during court proceedings. What followed would significantly alter the public perception of the case and provide prosecutors with additional material for sentencing arguments. In July 2019, McIntyre stood trial in Tarrant County, Texas, for the murder of Ethan Walker. Prosecutors argued that although McIntyre had not fired the fatal shot, he had organized the robbery, recruited the gunman, and coordinated the entry into the residence. Under Texas law, participants in a felony, during which a death occurs, can be charged with murder. The jury found McIntyre guilty of murder and 3 counts of aggravated robbery. On July 23, 2019, he was sentenced to 55 years in prison for murder, with additional concurrent sentences of 30 years, 13 years, and 13 years for the robbery charges. During the sentencing phase, prosecutors presented the race, music video, and social media posts as evidence of McIntyre's lack of remorse and his willingness to glorify criminal behavior while fleeing justice. The case for the murder of Mark Anthony Saldivar remained pending. In February 2024, prosecutors offered McIntyre a plea deal, which he rejected. The case proceeded to trial in April 2025. On April 14, 2025, a jury found McIntyre guilty of murder in the death of Saldivar. The following day, April 15, 2025, Judge Stephanie Boyd sentenced him to 80 years in prison. The judge ruled that this sentence would run concurrently with his existing 55-year sentence, meaning McIntyre would serve 80 years total rather than 135 years consecutively. In March 2019, while incarcerated at Tarrant County Jail, McIntyre was placed in solitary confinement. According to jail records, authorities determined he was attempting to organize a prison gang affiliated with the Crips street gang. He also faced internal disciplinary charges for possessing prohibited substances while in custody. Years after his initial sentencing, McIntyre's public statements shifted. In a series of social media posts made from prison, he argued that his sentence was excessive given his age at the time of the offenses. In one post, he wrote, "I bet if I was a lil white kid they wouldn't have gave me no 55 years for a crime I was alleged to play the most insignificant role in when I was 16. They would have rightfully argued that my mind wasn't fully developed and gave me rehabilitation and a first chance at adulthood." In another, he stated, "One of my co-defendants was a white girl who was 16 just like me. They didn't certify her as an adult, but they certified me and Pimp as adults. Pimp got 30, I got 55. She ended up getting 10 years of probation without no deal. That girl, at home or in." These statements referenced Ariana Barrett, one of the women involved in the Ethan Walker home invasion, who was not certified as an adult and received probation. McIntyre's arguments centered on claims of racial disparity in charging and sentencing decisions. Taymor McIntyre was convicted of 2 counts of murder and multiple counts of aggravated robbery. He is currently serving an 80-year prison sentence in Texas. Under state law, he must serve at least half of his sentence before becoming eligible for parole, meaning his earliest possible release would occur after serving approximately 40 years. As of February 2026, McIntyre is 25 years old and incarcerated in a Texas state prison facility. Court records indicate his projected release date is listed as 2099, though parole eligibility would occur decades earlier. The victims in this case included Ethan Walker, a 21-year-old who was killed during a home invasion robbery, Mark Anthony Saldivar, a 23-year-old photographer killed during an equipment theft, and Oni Skip Pep, a 65-year-old man who survived a violent assault but sustained permanent injuries. What remains is a record of confirmed actions across multiple crimes. A planned home invasion that resulted in a fatal shooting, a flight from justice, additional violent offenses committed while fugitive, and the creation and promotion of media content celebrating that flight. The decisions documented in this case occurred over a span of 11 months, from July 2016 to June 2017. Each decision was preceded by opportunities to choose differently. In cases like this, understanding those decisions, the progression from conspiracy to violence, from accountability to evasion, from one crime to the next, is often the only clarity left behind. Thank you for watching Morbid True Crime. If this story made you think, consider liking the video, subscribing, and sharing it, because understanding the crime is how we prevent the next one.
All right. It states that we unanimously find that the defendant Taymor McIntyre did not cause the death of Anthony Saldivar under the immediate influence of sudden passion arising from adequate cause. It states that punishment to be assessed at 80 years in the prison, and there is no fine. Does anyone wish to have the jury polled?
Not going to say, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm first going to start with your unanimous decision stating that there was no finding of sudden passion. If that is your verdict, I'll need you to respond yes. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
We'll start on the end. Is this your verdict? I'm sorry?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict? I'm on the back row. I'm sorry. Is this your verdict on the back row? Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict? With regards to the sentence of 80 years in the prison and no fine, if this is your verdict, I need you to answer yes. Does everyone understand?
Yes.
Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict?
Yes.
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 Back row, is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict? Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
Is this your verdict?
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have you go back to the jury room, and I'll meet you back there shortly. Everyone, please rise for the jurors. All right, everyone, please be seated. All right, Mr. McIntyre, the jury found you guilty of murder. Your punishment is to be assessed at 80 years in the prison. The court will give you credit for any time served. There's a $0 fine. And with regards to the other offense, State, are you requesting that to be stacked?
Yes, we are, Your Honor.
All right.
Your Honor.
And I'm assuming you're against that, is that correct?
We are, Your Honor. We would just like to briefly, for the record, maintain that our argument would be that to run consecutively an 80-year sentence on top of 55...
Just one moment, counsel. Just give me one moment. Mr. McIntyre, I want you to know that I listened to all of the evidence in punishment and thought about whether or not your sentence should be stacked. I don't know where your mom is, don't know where your father is. I know that you had a rough childhood. And I do know that these offenses occurred when you were very young. And I understand the state of the law, what people consider an adult. I listened to the testimony of the expert that was brought by defense counsel. You've already been sentenced to murder in the other county, and then you have a murder here. And the sentence for 55 years, that's a stiff sentence. This 80-year sentence is a stiff sentence. And these are cases where you have to serve half your time, and that's day for day time, and I recognize that. Hopefully you will grow, but based upon his age, based upon the number of years that he has received out of Tarrant County and the number of years that he's received here, based upon his history and the lack of any type of good parenting. From what I can tell, his mother wasn't a good parent to him. His father wasn't a good parent to him. Child Protective Services was not good. And if you believe the testimony, I don't know why Child Protective Services would place children back with a father who put the children's mother in the hospital. Is there something else that needs to be done with our society? Yes. Is more money need for child protective services than their workers? Yes. And I do realize that while this is a lot of time, and I tell people all the time, any time that you do in custody is a lot of time. But by that same token, you're still alive. And what the state has said is true. You're still alive. You can still better yourself. If you end up in prison for the rest of your life, you're still alive. You still can improve yourself. Your family can still visit you. But the complainant in this case is deceased. And you need to internalize that the complainant in this case is deceased. And that his family is never going to see him again. So you're going to have to make changes. And you're going to have to remove people from your life who are not of benefit in the means of making you a better person. And I do understand that sometimes people will go to prison, they join gangs because you need protection, because you're there by yourself, you're young, but you're going to have to make better choices. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to sentence him to 80 years in the prison, give him credit for any time served. There is a $0 fine. This will run concurrent with 1511547D.